Hey, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scobell, and you're on the lifeboat. I hope you're having a dazzling morning. Mine's dazzling too. So, hold on a second. Sorry, people. A little dead air in the beginning. Always runs off a couple of folks. Let's get these in. There we go. Trying to get used to this YouTube thing, and apparently, I hear what you hear if I go this route. And if there's background noise or there's anything that needs to be adjusted, then I can theoretically hear it. That's the theory. Can I get a 5x5? Let me know how you are hearing me. Oh, everyone, I'm not feeling good. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Scoob. I am really sorry to hear that. That one's for you, Scoob. Tommy, looking shiny and bright today. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Lemmy. Appreciate you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, alrighty, people. So this is the part of the deal where I do the show. And we're going to get this buttoned up here. This is one of those subject matters that we talk about, I don't know, comes up every month or so. We do a show on frustration, and it's like everything else that we talk about in sobriety. It is one of those things that comes in a variety of fashions. There are frustrations where somebody jumps in front of you in a grocery store. They're in the 10 items or less, and it's painfully obvious that they're sporting like 16 or 17 items. And that is a frustration, a legitimate frustration. It's going to frustrate somebody. Not to take away from that in any way, but it is on the low end of the spectrum. It's probably in the 1 or maybe the 2 department. It's not a 4 or 5 or a 6. And if it is, then you need to get yourself in check. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. Guy calls you a 4-letter word, then pushes in front of you, and the frustration starts to get a little bit higher. And then when you start to get to marital things, when you're in a tough marriage, or there are things that are going on with your significant other that are really dragging you down, or sometimes just the fact that you have a significant other, and I'm taking nothing, I'm not being cruel or anything else, but sobriety is a very long train. And, sometimes because of the fact that we often marry people who don't carry the same affliction that we do, they don't have the same disease. And for that reason, it's sometimes difficult to relate to the most important people in our life when it comes to certain issues, because they just lack a perspective that is really necessary. And that frustration starts getting up in the 7s and the 8s, maybe the 9s. It's if I lived to 100, I think I would probably remain single the duration of that time. For me, it was one of these things that after many attempts and many people that I cared very deeply for, I've come to the realization I'm not particularly good at it. And it's not just that, it brings misery to me and everybody everybody involved in it. But frustrations come in many sizes, and they come in a somewhere on that 1 to 10 scale. And frustration also lumps itself in with a crapload of other emotions, which can make it a unique thing in sobriety or in recovery. Because when you're really, really frustrated, there are aspects of anger in frustration, but it is not uniquely anger. It is a very different. There is often hopelessness of a sort that is attached to frustration. It's often brought on by situations that we lack control over in some level. And as addicts, we really are the worst people on the planet for coping with a loss of control. And I mean the worst on the planet. And one of the reasons for this, if you think about it, it's painfully logical, right? We'll take me as an example. Let's say at my runner, I was out there for about 30 years or so, doing opiates on a 2 or 3 or 4 times a day kind of a situation. Hold on one second. Jana. Hi, Tommy. I absolutely love your chats with Aaron. You're looking well. Thank you. L. Ron Hubbard was for sure an addict. Thanks for for all you do. Hand pink waving, face blue smiling. Hand pink waving. Thank you, Jana. Very, very, very kind thing to say. And I am of the firm belief that L. Ron Hubbard was an abuser of drugs, and there are people that sometimes you never want to be disrespectful to anybody, but sometimes I think that like when I first quit using drugs, I swear to you, when I would go places in sobriety and people would get up and they would talk just horrendously about pick your favorite substance, whatever. Alcohol or whatever, and almost make it like it's human, like what's that word? Yes, they were attributing human characteristics to an inanimate thing, something like alcohol. But I remember people seriously bad mouthing heroin and sitting in the room and being bummed out about it. Like I honestly remember sitting in there and I'm sober. I've been sober a couple of years, and I just felt like they were just tearing down a good friend of mine. And I had spent so much time with the substance that in essence, that's exactly what they were doing, was tearing down my best friend. And I struggled with it. I struggled to beat hell with it. I can't imagine what it must have been like to grow up in that environment, to be so immersed in the dogma of the church and of the cult, that when that carpet gets yanked out from underneath you, and all of a sudden you see some of what it is for what it is, and you leave. You were still raised by these people, and we've talked about it here on the Lifeboat before. I screwed up my life pretty good with drugs and with crime, and went to prison, right? For a good chunk of time because of the things that I did. The things that I did landed me in prison. And prison was a horrendous place. Like I watched people get killed. I watched really terrible things happen in that joint in the federal system throughout different prisons. And I was fortunate enough to be on a couple of really just candy yards that just were, especially toward the end of my sentence, because your points drop. But the last couple I were at were like, I don't know. I was at a high school that was more dangerous than that prison, but I was also in some really ugly ones. But the funny stuff that happened to me while I was down, I remember every bit of. And there are people from that world that I admire massively and have become super, super close friends of mine. And no matter what happens, that kind of will always be the case. And I think that there are people who leave the cult and for a period of time still kind of look to LRH like, you know what? He really was a figure in my life, yada, yada. If you just tuned in, I'm using this as an example. I'm not a big LRH guy, but there are people for whom that guy was a father figure. And when they start to see the crazy things that are happening in the church, I think in a lot of their minds, they were like, if LRH were still here, this probably wouldn't have been happening. But yes, I think the church is awful, but they still hold a really warm spot for the guy. And you can see it when they speak. And the last thing in the world I would ever want to do is is say something that would offend that person, especially sitting and talking to them. And I think that there's a decent amount of evidence that leans itself toward the fact that he was a drug addict. So back to frustration, because I am known for squirreling. Sometimes I have to let thoughts flow and stop on the ones that really stand out. Then I do an inventory on them and talk it over with my sponsor and wait for the next right thought. That's a great comment. Pieces. I love that. Pieces, do you do a lot of journaling? If you don't, I would recommend it in a huge way, because there are times where I had a person that was absolutely a sponsor, a mentor, else you would call him, an inspiration. He was the reason that I was able to get sober. There are times that I can't talk to him. Now, in the real world, he's in prison. In the real world, it's almost impossible that you can't get someone on the phone with all the technology that was out there. But I still think that no matter how open and honest we are with a sponsor, there are things that we're going to write down in a journal, knowing that the only person that's ever going to see that journal is me. I'm more open. Even if I swear to myself on a stack of Bibles that I will be 100% transparent with my counselor, my doctor, my sponsor, my whatever, the person I am most transparent with in the whole world is the journal. And I say that because there are times where when I start writing, I don't even know what it's about to tell me. I don't know what it's about to reveal. But in recovery, it has been such a weapon of mine for such a long time that I would really recommend going that route. I really would. Kathy, it's good to see you. I have been chastised for spending way too much time in the comment section. And there's probably something to that. There really is. It's just that you make friends with people here, or a good number of them, that you build a pretty serious relationship with. And it's, yeah. I try to stay out of the comment section. Believe it or not, I really do. So here's the thing with frustration. Frustration can move itself into some pretty heavy stuff in people's lives. And I am the king. I am the king. And I have in some ways become, I've become rather detached when I become frustrated. And it is something I don't do in the 1, 2s, and 3s. I do it in the 8, 9s, and 10s. So on that scale, we're talking about all the time in the lifeboat. On that scale of 1 to 10, if somebody cut in front of me at line or my Facebook account got hacked, it's a 4. That sucks. You got to reach out to everybody and tell them what happened. And it was just, and it's just a really, annoying thing, but it's not going to frustrate you till the end of the world. Seagull, that's something that is going to happen to you more and more often in life. We call those chemical dreams. You probably woke up feeling guilty. That happens a lot. And it can happen to you 10, 20 years into your sobriety. I've talked to a ton of people that get those dreams still to this day. And you're going to see a lot of people in the comment section that are going to say, oh, that happens to me. I promise you, I haven't seen it, but it's coming. To be sure. There you go, Valerie, first one. Seagull, hugs, I get those dreams too. We all get those dreams, if not the vast majority. Chemical dreams are huge, and it is a part of recovery. It is no fun, Seagull. I feel bad for you, brother. Charlie Mullins, good to see you. But it is almost a badge of honor in sobriety because you're getting to a point where your brain is now working through, right? Your subconscious is working through things that it should have been working through all the time. Now, please, Seagull, get yourself a journal. Start writing in it at night before you go to bed. And then start writing it in the morning when you get up. And you know what? I know this isn't about frustration, but this is freaking huge. And it's something that needs to be talked about because right now you are in such a fantastic place. Yes, I do journal all the time. I'm doing well. My problems are minimal today. I'm Annette. Well, Annette. Good to see you. Good. Journaling all the time is awesome. And if you're not doing it, people, Seagull, if you're not doing it, get a freaking notebook. You can buy them in places for about 34 cents because I just bought 2 of them yesterday for 34 cents a piece. You're going to love that. It's only like 70 or 80 sheets. They're small ones, but they'll fill up quick. But it's I like having them as many as I can. Lummy, I'm sorry to hear that. Really, I am. I'm sorry to hear that. But please start journaling at night. If you're new to the sobriety thing and all of these things are happening, if before you go to bed, you dump every single thing that you've got kind of cooking around in your brain, that's all the memories from today. Those are all of the things that happened during the day while you were out being you and doing the things that you're going to do, right? I still haven't gone outside yet. Seagull, look, stick with me. Stick with me. Start to work through the process that's going to make you confident enough to go outside. Start working through the process that's going to get you on both feet and feeling really good about who you are, sort of rolling the shoulders back, sticking the chest out, chin up a little bit. But we're a messed up computer. You understand? We have files that are just jacked up. It's part of the process. And we need to clean those files out. That's absolutely essential. If you're going to get through from day to day and you're going to function the way that you want to at the best that you can be as a human being, those things can't hang out. So before you go to bed, you bust out that journal and you just start writing. And you don't have to be, you start off with, I swear to you, Tommy's an idiot. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be writing. And then just see where it takes you, right? See where it takes you. Just let it roll. It doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. It doesn't have to be anything, but you will learn to get all of the crap from the day that is parked right here in the front of your dome. You get all of that out. Then what happens? Well, since you don't have anything in your day to work through, when you lay down and you go to sleep, your subconscious can actually go to work. Now your subconscious starts working through some really, really heavy duty stuff because we've been dumping crap on it for as long as we've been addicts and not working through anything. Right? Some of us have decades of backed up stuff. So you grab that thing, and then when you wake up in the morning, same thing, except now it's the night shift, right? Your subconscious part of your brain has been working around the clock. Everybody's punching out. It's like that cartoon. Morning, Ralph. Morning, Sam. You know, they kind of pass each other on the way. When the second shift comes on, don't leave them work on the desk, not touched. When the morning shift comes on, don't leave them work on the desk, not touched. It's going to screw your life up. If you journal that stuff out of your head at night, and then you journal that stuff out of your head in the morning, doing a little info dump and write whatever's going on in there out, when you attack the day, you're doing it in your, this is right now, I'm living in the moment kind of mind. Your sleep will be better. Your dreams will affect you more. Hi, Tommy. Good morning from a grateful addict in recovery. Be a hell of a name for a band. Wouldn't it? Grateful Addicts in Recovery. Russ, you're on to something. Welcome to the boat, Russ. I don't know that I've ever said hello to you. I'm glad that you're here. And I mean that. But it really would be a great name for a band. So when we start going down the road to sobriety, there are going to be things that drive you crazy. There are going to be things that frustrate the hell out of you. Some of them, boy, you do not have to be Nostradamus to see them coming. For real. There are going to be things that are going to annoy you that you do not have to have a crystal ball to see. Now we are sober. There are going to be people in our lives who are not. And I assure you, this is going to create frustration in your life. And they're going to come in different breeds. There are going to be people in your life who are going to frustrate you because they do something you can't. I personally can't stand anybody that can just eat a few pain pills every once in a while for fun, right? I kind of want to put my thumbs on those people's throats because that's all I ever wanted my entire life was to be able to eat those things, have all the fun I want, stop, work, do life like other people do. And then maybe the weekend rolls around and there's nothing going on and, right, throw back 4 or 5 oxys and just feel good. Or maybe even, hell, smoke a little tar. If the world never knew, maybe shoot a shot of dope. Feel fantastic. And then not do it again for 6 or 7 months. Not wired that way, right? I don't have that capability at all. Just celebrated a year of continuous sobriety. That, Russ, gets you the Lifeboat Participation Trophy. We only give this out maybe once or twice a show. So this is a high honor here, Russ. But congratulations, because a year of continuous sobriety is epic. It really is. Congratulations, my friend. That is fantastic. People, some heavy-duty sobriety, right? A year is good stuff, man. That's 365 days. And far more important than that, you're now counting in years. I talk to people about this all the time. That to me was one of the moments where the sun came through the clouds. And I'll tell you straight up, right? At the 1 year mark, I was doing this number still. Like I was not doing well sober. I mean, I wasn't doing drugs, but I was absolutely miserable. Congrats on year 1. My 6th month is tomorrow. Janet, congratulations. Wow, look at this. Back to back. See, I'm telling you, we're running out of participation trophies. Jenna, congratulations. 6 months is huge. And right as I was about to say before I found that out, we're looking at when you start doing the day thing. I remember the hour thing. Like, man, I hadn't done anything in 12 hours, and your arms are itching, and it's just starting on you. Especially when I was incarcerated, and I was in a cell in solitary confinement, very, very small cell, and I'm in there in solitary confinement, and they basically everything from you when you go to the shoe. They will let you have your watch. Suffice to say, it was not like any of the watches that I wear now. It was I don't even like saying it out loud, but it was not a mechanical watch. I'll leave it at that. But I remember looking at that puppy and just being bewildered at how slow the clock was moving. I remember being heinously frustrated by that. In fact, during that whole process, frustration was the baseline. How many years sober are you, Tommy? 8 years, thank you. Congrats on turning your life around and all of the good work you're doing. Kelly, that's a cool thing to say. I appreciate that. I really do. Big shout out right now for everybody. Please listen to this because I'm not bright enough to say this. And it comes up about once or twice a month. I should just post it somewhere because it's huge. I talk to people all of the time in the comment section, and then I get emails from people, and I get fantastic emails from people, and I have no idea who they are. And it's so do me a favor, if by some chance, you have a different name on YouTube than the name than your real name, right? Or if your email name is going to not give me any clues either, please tell me who you are before you send me the emails. Because if not, I feel I can respond, but I feel kind of generic. And then when I see people in the comment section, I don't know if I ever corresponded with them. So just tell me who you are. Shoot me one of those. And that would be really fantastic. The fact that he went on to take $35,000, which sent his elderly dad close to his deathbed, reminded me why I'm clean. Good for you, NZ Chilihead, man. Good for you. And great advice from Seven Son. He says, reach out if it's going around your dome. If you've got something that's kicking around your head, if you've got something that's giving you the business, it's exactly what you should be doing. You should be reaching out. Now, I always refer to all of the tools that keep me sober as my bag of tricks, right? And I have a different bag of tricks for everything. I have a huge bag of tricks, and they get that you apply different things for different times. Frustration. Frustration is key, right? We're talking about it today. The first thing I do in frustration, the first thing I do is almost the first thing I do in everything, right? I sit down with a notebook and I write down exactly why I'm frustrated. Because as simple as this sounds, the act of taking of removing this from the complete emotion part of your brain and kicking in the part of your brain that does sort of executive thought, right? Sometimes very often can give you a different perspective on whatever it is that is causing you frustration. Obviously, we don't need to bust out a pad and pen if you're at the grocery store. In the earlier example, and the cat in front of you decides that he's going to slide into the line. He's got 26 or 27 items. He's in the 10 items or less lane. But he just sort of looks at you with that disrespect and starts unloading the cachava or whatever else he's putting up on that belt. The point being, that's probably not frustrating enough that you need to go grab a pen and a piece of paper and start writing down what's in your head. However, I start getting up into the 4s and the 5s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, the 9s, right? At that point, I'm busting out the journal and I'm going to start writing down what's going on. And I'll break it down because sometimes I'm not looking at these things from angles that I need to. And but when I do this, it's an exercise in me. Gotta go to work, folks. Everyone have a safe and sober, blessed day. You do the same, my friend. Be careful at work, please. But as it gets higher up, it's the same thing, right? These are the same tricks you hear me talk about all of the time. What is the frustration that you're dealing with at this moment? Okay, well, I don't know. Got a neighbor, right? And the neighbor is a person that knows I'm in recovery, but seems to do everything within his power to push my buttons. It's almost like this individual is trying to get me to to use. By the way, I don't even have a neighbor here, but that's the premise we're rolling with, right? I'm not going to go see this neighbor. Like, I'm going to cut this neighbor out of my life until I can figure out exactly what it is, figure out how maybe I can change it, figure out how maybe I can communicate with this neighbor better. I'm not letting them into my environment. And the reason being, the first and foremost thing that has to come in front of virtually everything. And if you are a follower of a specific religion and you say, well, that should be the most important thing, God bless you. And it should be the most important thing in your life if you're a religious individual. However, my connection to a higher power was completely hijacked by my drug use. It made it impossible to concentrate on any such thing because I was God. And when I wasn't, heroin was. And that was really the, how I got so off the rails that I started robbing banks, right? I most assuredly was not at the helm. But my sobriety, for this reason, has to go in front of everything. It has to go in front of my spirituality and my family. And it has to go in front of, everything. And people go nuts when I say this, but here's the deal. If I put sobriety in front of everything else, then my family's going to get the best of me, right? My spirituality, I will be completely at ease and at one with my belief system. I will be very, very comfortable in my belief system. However, if I don't take care of the basics, then I'm in deep doo-doo. And one of the things that can shoot me into deep doo-doo, I mean, we all know all of the acronyms and the the cool different ways that we can describe the things that short circuit a person's success, right? Like HALT. If we're hungry, we're angry, we're lonely, or we're tired, right? Those things all threaten your serenity. And if your serenity is threatened, well, then so is your sobriety. And sometimes, as we've talked about many times on the lifeboat, it takes a very small thing to start the ball rolling in the wrong direction, and relapse begins. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to use. It just means that, right, you were heading this way and life was good. Now, all of a sudden, you're going that way. Doesn't mean that you're going to hit the wall, which is, I ended up at the liquor store with a bottle in the parking lot, taking the top off. That would be hitting the wall, right? What we're saying is that you should always be moving forward. And if you're not moving forward, why not? Right? This is why we do things like journal. This is why all of the things that I do in my life are structured in such a way so that if I'm not moving forward, there are canaries in the coal mine all over the place that say, hey, you don't look like you're moving forward. One of which is the fact that I speak to a whole hell of a lot of people every day. And I remember having a very, very long and philosophical conversation with my brother Johnny about this prior to starting the channel. And one of the things that I think he was most excited about, or at least one of the things that he articulated some very serious my perspective is not constructive enough sometimes. I don't know, right? We all go through times where we seem to. Good night, New Zealand chilihead. Please be careful. But my brother was really excited at the prospect that there were going to be all of these people listening to me and watching me every day. Because if you start sliding in the wrong direction, if you start phoning it in a really big way, or you start seeming like you're just not there, there's a whole lot of people that are watching what you're doing, and and they're probably going to point it out. Tim, once you hit 50, your body doesn't get better. If you work hard, you can stay ahead of the decline. Boy, there's a lot of truth to that. I was a athlete, for a long time of my life. I struggled, with going from being that individual to being somebody that is just falling apart. But and it happened right around 50. I'll tell you what, like 50 was a real downhill run. If you had told me when I was in my 20s or 30s that I would be hospitalized because of my heart, that I would be hospitalized because of my heart at the in my early 50s, I would have been shocked. You're so optimistic. I'm not sure if you're talking about me, but I'll tell you something. I don't know that I'm the most optimistic person in the world. Truthfully, I don't. Let me tell you what I mean by that. There are a lot of parts of life that I think are going in the wrong direction, and I may not be super optimistic about it. But the best thing about getting sober, right? The top of the food chain for the sobriety thing, in my humble opinion, in my walk, the best part of this sobriety thing is that hold on one second. I got to get back to that, and I'll tell you why. The more sober I am, the better I can handle my life. Yeah, no, but Valerie says, I have an appointment with a new doctor later this morning. My last one accused me of looking for a specific diagnosis, which was not true. I'm insanely nervous. Valerie, you do not have any permission from myself or anyone else on this boat to be nervous about this. There's absolutely nothing to be nervous about. Truthfully, it's a perfect opportunity to talk about all of the same things that we do here every single day. If you find yourself insanely nervous, one of the things that you can do is you can get a piece of paper and a pen. You can write down, okay, why are you nervous? So you basically just did that, right? Because you have an appointment with the doctor, and the last one accused you of looking for a specific diagnosis, which obviously, since you didn't do it, left an indelible mark on your subconscious. You're bummed out. Somebody accused you of something you didn't do. And a doctor is somebody that's supposed to be an advocate for you in all things, right? So it was a bummer. It makes a lot of sense. But the key word in that entire thing you wrote is the word new. I have an appointment with a new doctor later this morning. This is a doctor that has nothing to go on, right? This is a brand new opportunity for you to talk to this doctor and communicate with them, right? With he or she in such a way that sort of sets the tone for the relationship you're going to have with this doctor. Here is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. Got it from an old criminal when I was really, really young. But he was talking about lying to a loved one. And I said, you just lie to her? And he said to me, there's only two people on the planet you don't lie to. And that is your doctor and your lawyer. He said, everybody else, it doesn't matter. But if you lie to your doctor or if you lie to your lawyer, you're a fool. Knowing that, you're going in to see a person that they're not going to talk about what you tell them. They're not going to share it with other people. It is a relationship that you really have to go into feeling like you got nothing to worry about. And Valerie, you got nothing to worry about, right? You didn't do anything wrong last time. And if this is that last time isn't going to follow you into this time. Don't go in there with that mindset at all. Go in there and start a relationship, right? A doctor-patient relationship with this individual and be really honest. And if as you're going in, you still have that sheer terror, go in and get a feeling on this person in the first 5 or 10 seconds. I don't know about you, but I get those vibes. And if in the first 5 or 10 seconds, I feel like this is a pretty good individual, you know what I would say? Talk, you have no idea how nervous I am right now. She's kind of bumming me out because when we articulate things like that, the only power that any of these things have, they have because we trap them inside. You open your mouth, you let those things out, and their power dissipates. It goes to crap in a matter of seconds, right? Things that made you insanely nervous all of a sudden go kind of lose all of their steam, right? For real. Frustrations on the lower level can be the exact same way, right? Getting them out of your head, whether it's down to paper, whether it's talking to a friend, whether it's talking to the sometimes what frustrates us can be other human beings. And if it's another human being, having a conversation with that person, communicating with that person, sometimes that is a great help. But getting it out, no matter how you get it out, anything that we keep inside eats us alive. And if you're feeling nervous and you keep it inside, it will make you more nervous. It will be your only thought. And then in come the ants, right? Ants, the acronym, automatic negative thought. The automatic negative thoughts come in and start crawling all over your gray matter. And they start telling you things like, this doctor's going to do the exact same thing as the last doctor. They probably all talk about you. Everybody probably thinks you're a pain in the ass patient already, and no one wants to talk to you. This guy's going to treat me like crap as soon as I walk in the door. I can almost guarantee it because the last doctor did that. And you know what? Take a deep breath. Take a really, really deep breath. And 7th says, Val, remember your doctor is your employee. That is damn right. They work for you. And I've fired them before. In fact, I probably could almost take pride in the number of times I've told doctors, yeah, I'm not having anything to do with you. I have to get a feeling that they're somebody that I can work with, because these are pretty big things. You know what I mean? These people are going to be poking and prodding at me with no dinner or, funny kind of conversation banter that happens ahead of time. No, they're just going to start poking and prodding. So I need to have a decent feeling about who the person was, Pieces says clear slate, Val. Great way to put it, right? What a great comment. It's a clean slate. You're going in there with a golden opportunity to let this individual hear exactly what's going on in your life so that you can get the right diagnosis and then get on the road to healing. Very, 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 very cool concept. The clean slate is awesome. Sorry, hold on. Oh, Tim, that sounds awful. Yeah, that sounds absolutely awful. I'm sorry. So in conclusion, we've got about 20 minutes left. Pieces says we give power to our fears. We give power to our fears. We give power to our frustrations. We give power to our anger. We give power to every emotion that we have. 5% of what is going to happen to you in your life is what happens. So things that we cannot control. We have zero control over them. The 95% we have total control over. And that is how we react to those things. Sure as God made green apples, the person on this planet that you care the most about at some point is going to move to the other side, right? People that were just massive influences in our life. The inevitability is that a day is going to come where you're going to get the phone call or something is going to let you know that person is no longer with us. It's going to happen to everybody. It is it is one of those things that is a constant for every single person on earth, right? So that's the 5%. That's the worst of the 5% on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a 10, regardless of whether it's somebody cutting in line in front of you at the grocery store, right, which is barely even a 1, or if it's somebody that you love more than anything that is no longer with us, which would be a solid 10. In either way, there is going to be a 95%, which is going to be how you deal with what just happened. And we would all like to think that we will be at our best when things are at their worst. And it's a decent ambition to have. But I think very often how you deal with the things that are the 1s and the 2s are going to dictate what kind of human being you are, what kind of man or what kind of woman that you are. It's how you're going to cope with those things when they come up. So again, I talked about this earlier, but one of the greatest things about the sobriety thing is that for a great many of us who feel like our entire lives, we have not been in control of our own lives in a lot of ways. We felt powerless. right? Inside our own existence. That is a reality for a great number of people who become addicts. We use the chemical as a way to take away that feeling of not being in complete control. And not being in complete control gives you that feeling of being uncomfortable in your own skin. That drives you to use dope, whatever. So does sobriety. So does sobriety. The realization that you are taking control and that you are in power of virtually freaking everything. You're in power of everything. So getting to the point, one of the biggest buzzes that I've gotten, I know people hate me. I know people hate me. I know people that used to like talking to me a lot more, don't like talking to me as much these days. And the reason is I'm a completely different person than I was. And I don't let emotion crawl into, and I was horrible, and I was very open about it. Throwing things against the wall, being a rageaholic, couple of health situations that happened in my life put things into a slightly different perspective. Yeah. It's given me a different perspective on life, and I'm not going to rage. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to throw things. I don't know that it's particularly good for my heart, and that can be an issue. Scoob, I'm sorry. Just saw that. Sorry, Scoob. Hang in there, girl. Please. Hang in there. So, once again, it's like so often on the lifeboat, what it's going to come down to virtually every time is take a good look at where you're at. Take a snapshot of what is going on in your life at the moment of frustration. Take a snapshot of what is going on at your office that has got you so angry that you're ready to just rage. Take a snapshot of where you are. And looking at the things that are going on and doing it through an analytical eye. There's something about going from here to here, or even from going from the emotional part of the brain to the logical sort of thinking part of the brain. It's one of the reasons that, a phrase like take a snapshot, or if it's one of the heavier things, if you're into the 4 or 5 or 6 on the frustration scale. Come here, kitty. Hey, squirrel, how you doing? If you're into the 4 or 5 or the 6 on the frustration scale, then it probably would be a good idea to take that snapshot with a pen and a piece of paper and write down exactly what is going on in your life. This is because now we're into things that are more serious, and if we let emotions spiral out of control, if we let emotions get the better of us, then we're in trouble. And as I said, I've lost some friends because I've become, I don't know, maybe more Spock-like in some situations, maybe less emotional, but maybe a little bit more detached. But I almost used the term defense mechanism. I'm not sure that that's the right way to put it, but it is to be sure a coping mechanism. I may have swung the pendulum more in the opposite direction by but I do not let my emotions get the better of me. I have come to realize over time, I've realized over a long period of time that if I don't stay on top of things, they'll snowball. And that stupid, insignificant, speck of a situation of frustration, the guy that cuts in front of you in the line, ends up coloring your entire day. And we've all let this happen to us. The stupidest stuff in the world. Man, I got in the car, I drove off, to go to work. And as I started to get closer to work, I realized that I had put on 2 different color socks. I was so pissed at myself, you know what I mean? And it wasn't, it wasn't the kind of outfit where I could just take socks off. And it had me starting the day feeling self-conscious. And you can literally let the smallest little thing that could have been a giggle destroy an entire day. And when you start getting up into the heavier stuff, when you start getting up into some things that can really frustrate you. And as an addict, we had total control over our situation, didn't we? I mean, I'm pissed. Well, then do a little more dope. Make that pissed go away. I'm so happy I don't even know how to cope with it. Well, make that go away. Do a little bit more dope. Knock a little bit off of the high, knock a ton off of the low, and stay right in that middle of just numb. 30 years of just sedated. That was the route. But I had the ability to control my emotions without having to deal with them. I had the ability to deal with frustration without having to deal with it. I didn't have to process anything. I didn't have to evaluate anything. I didn't have to weigh what my part in the situation is. There's none of that. None of that. Just got high. And after 3 decades of that, coming out of that into the real world, you find that you rage off of the handle. And what's worse is I had spent, pretty close to a decade flat in, I spent almost a decade flat in a federal prison system. And you sort of learn to walk a fine line between, I don't know. You try to give respect to everybody in prison. You really do. You've never seen any place where people say, excuse me, more than you will in a federal prison. If 2 guys go through a door and there's a bit of a confrontation, like one guy had the opportunity to go first, people will bend over backwards to let the other guy go. No, go ahead. After you, brother. Go ahead, man. It's all good. Go ahead. All right. Thank you. No, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Excuse me. No, excuse me. My bad. That was on me, man. People are fast to say they're sorry. They're fast to pick something up if they knock it down, because the respect is what everything in the entire system runs on. If people get out of line with that respect, then fights happen, and they happen really quickly, and they happen really violently. And there's really a lot to what I just said. Everything just kind of runs on respect. And then you get out into the real world, and it's the first time you've been sober in 3 decades. And then add on top of that people don't understand things like, you call me a bitch, and I'm probably going to punch you in the face. Because for 10 years, if somebody called you a bitch and you didn't fight, that was the end, right? You're going to end up in a PC unit. You're going to end up with the crap kicked out of you first. You'll be lucky if they, if they don't kill you. That's just, there are things that's a term that you don't, at least in the federal system, it isn't like you hear that 5 times a week. You don't. But when you do hear it said, a fist fight is going to happen within 30 seconds. Punk is another word. If either of those words get said, a fist fight is going to break out, and it's going to break out in a matter of seconds, right? That's an insane environment. It's an absolutely insane environment. Somebody knows that all they got to do if they want to fight you is say that word, and you're not going to be able to talk your way out of it. If somebody else heard that word uttered, you have to fight. Now, that's a bizarre environment to be in for a decade. And the frustrations that come along with it, that you've dealt with in a completely different way. And now you're in the real world and you have to deal with frustrations way differently. Progress is not perfection. Well, I'm so damn far from perfect. It's incredible. I'm never going to be even close. It's not on the radar for me, but I'm completely cool with that because it is the process. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, unless you plan on fighting. If you say either of those words, it's a fist fight. It's an instant fist fight. So now I get into the real world, and my frustrations have to be dealt with in a different way. And I go back to the same bag of tricks that I have for everything. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a snapshot, and I'm going to evaluate exactly what's going on, because we never look at things exactly how they're going on. When you're in the middle of it, you can't be objective. So you kind of have to step back and analyze the crap out of something. Now, for me to do that, this is my brain. I need a pen and a piece of paper. And I can then take what's going on and parking itself in the emotional part of my brain, and I can bring it up to the logic part of my brain. And I can start logically asking myself, where does the frustration lie? If it's a situation, you write down the things about the situation that you can control, the things that you can't. For instance, well, I'm frustrated because the cable man said they'd be here at 8:30 in the morning, or between 8:30 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, and it's got you pinned down all day long at the house. Well, that's frustrating. Does it sound like small stuff? It is. It's small stuff. But it does tie a person up for a day. And very often that'll be just enough to screw up everything else that you've got going on that day. That little bit of frustration, right, starts to grind away at you. Hey, squirrel. Starts to grind itself away at you. And once that happens, you can go in a couple of directions. You can get yourself you can get yourself back in line, turn the day into something fantastic, or you can let it own your day and you can screw up relationships, maybe a couple of good meals, conversations. You want to be able to get the frustration put to bed. And like everything else, if I'm in a situation in a room and it starts bothering me, I evaluate and I try to ask myself why it's bothering me, right? These are the logical things that I do on a regular basis. And then if that doesn't work, what do? I get out of the room, right? I go outside. I'll walk. I'll do whatever I got to do, but I will get out of the situation that I'm in. I will extricate myself from the scene, from the room, from the house, from the car, from the whatever. There are times you can't do that. So I will then, if I can't walk out of the room, then I will change the situation. I'm a person that says, tell you what, I'm not going to argue about this with you right now. It's not going to bear fruit. It's not a great idea for me to do this here and now. It's just not going to happen. But I will go and I will do a little chill out period, or I will do something to extricate myself from the situation. I'm not going to go into negotiation. I'm not going to go into debate. I'm not going to go into argument. I'm not going to go into settlement. I'm not going to go into anything with emotion at the helm. Does that make sense? Right? So I am so pissed off right now. You have no idea how mad I am at you. Let's sit down and talk. Well, I don't know that that's a great idea. Right? The other person's just as angry, and the two of you are going to sit down and bring what to the table? The points you want to make? No. You're going to say things that are hurtful. You're going to raise your voice. You're going to assert your dominance. Right? You're going to do all of these things that do not solve problems. In fact, they exacerbate them. So extricate yourself long enough to chill out, right? Some people say, well, you should really count to 10. Yeah, well, I need to count to like 10 days. Very often, I'm not someone that calms down in 10 seconds. I wish that I were, I count to 10 for a myriad of other things that works great. Not for frustration, it doesn't. If something's frustrating me, my best bet every time is to extricate myself from the situation. And there are times you can't. If you're married and the person that's bothering you is your wife, extricating yourself from the situation is impossible, right? No, it's completely possible. But you say to your wife, you know what I need? I need like an hour or two. That's what I need. I need about an hour or two. I don't want to talk about this. I need to calm down. I don't want to do this out of emotion. Maybe I'll take a walk. I think I might go for a walk for an hour or two. Right? Or I'm going to go work on something. I'm going to go wrench on a car. Whatever. She was supposed to do this one first. Whatever. But you understand what I'm saying. Extricate yourself from the situation. Don't start debating, making life decisions, doing any such thing when you're not at the helm. If you're so angry with your significant other that you want to choke him or her, probably not a great time to sit down and hash out what your plans are for next year's vacation or the budget of the house. maybe not the best time. Maybe the better thing would be for both of you to extricate yourself from whatever the issue is. Give it a little bit of time to cool off and chill out, and then come back together and see what kind of synergy, where can there be some common ground in the entire situation? Because that, people, common ground goes a long way. Who signed the Star Trek shirt? That is signed by Captain James Tiberius Kirk, played by William Shatner. So the name on the shirt is William Shatner's. That is one of his shirts from Star Trek. And it is authenticated and all of those things. And the little plaque below it says William Shatner, and then below that, James T. Kirk. Let's see. I really need some kind of outlet or hobby to release some frustrations. You're damn right you do. You're damn right you do. So does everybody else. So does everybody else, right? To be sure. If you don't have an outlet or a hobby, this is going to be a much more difficult ride. Hey, pickleball's the business. Before you start laughing, if you have not played pickleball is more fun than anything you have ever played. And the best part is anybody can play it, and anybody can be very good at it very quickly, which is awesome, right? There's nothing more fun than a game that everybody can be good at quickly. Come here. Apparently, I need to pick you up. Is that what's going on? Sorry, people. I have a high-maintenance cat. Yeah, I love pickleball. I'm telling you, pickleball is fun. John Doe says, pickleball just sounds fun. Imagine all of the best parts of tennis. There you go, squirrel. Just step on the laptop. That a girl, squirrel. You little nut job. So I think we'll keep Squirrel right here for a little while since she wants very badly to destroy the lifeboat today. My hobby was going to the shooting range, but the DOJ came and took my gun. So I am sorry to hear that, my brother. I really am. There are some things that you could do to continue that fun without actually shooting. There are some really, really high-tech stuff right now that you can do where you can fire weapons that don't have the capacity to actually fire a bullet. But with the use of a laser and targets gives you the exact same kind of a feel that you would, in terms of your accuracy. I know it's not the same. It absolutely isn't. I will never fire a gun ever again either. It's just kind of the reality of my life. But there are things that you can do. There are a ton of things that you can do. Take up archery. Take up something. Take up everything. Try it all. Decide you hate it, and then go on to the next thing, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to keep doing things until we find things that we love. Stop doing the stuff. Department of Justice, Tim. DOJ is the Department of Justice. I can also think of about 16 other things I could call them, but you know the rule I have about cursing in the live chat. And if I start talking about the DOJ, I will not control my tongue, and I'm liable not to control my life. They are who prosecute you if you go to the feds. If you get arrested by the FBI, you will be prosecuted by the Department of Justice. Or another way to say it is, if you are investigated by the world's largest private investigative firm, the FBI, right, located in all 50 states, field offices everywhere, they will turn the case over to the largest law firm on planet Earth, sometimes called the Department of Justice. More attorneys than anywhere else in the world. It's a little intimidating when you see a name on the top of the piece of paper and it says the United States versus, and you go, oh, God. For the violation of USC 2113. 2113. I think that was the statute that I originally broke, if I'm not mistaken. It was a 2113. I know the gun charge was a 922 and a 924, but the banks, I think, was 2113 for the bank robberies. I don't know. Over time, my brain isn't what it used to be. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Something in my life is not right. We take it out on others. Well, first of all, the problem is your brain. It's not you. At least pieces. I'm talking about me. When I'm in the same situation, my problem is my brain 100 out of 100 times. See, my brain's not on board. We have never been able to strike a deal, me and my brain. What is pickleball? A pickle shaped like a ball? No, actually it's a ball shaped like a pickle. No, it's like playing tennis. It's the best parts of tennis, but the ball is not hard. It's not as hard as a tennis ball. It's quite soft and tends to float more. And the court is smaller. The ball kind of hangs in the air a little bit more, and you can go after it and put spin on it and do all kinds of things. But it really short tennis, pickleball. There you go. Pieces, well played. I like what you did there. But you're not the problem. Your brain might be. You are a fantastic human being with more potential than anything on the planet. What one human being can do to change the world is dramatic. In many cases, all it requires is that they get sober, and it will change the world dramatically. We've done shows, that we talk about ripples, but the ripple effects that go off of one person who quits doing their substance of choice changes the entire planet for the better. It really does. It's like tennis and table tennis combined. That's a pretty good description too, Allison Stacy. You know what? A punching bag is actually a really great way to relieve stress. I recommend, that's a cat on a keyboard. I recommend wholeheartedly. Bring back bocce ball. What do you mean? Where did it go? I got bocce balls laying in my backyard right now. That's a cat chewing on my finger. Can you guys see that? Look at that. That is squirrel just literally gnawing on my finger. Nice, isn't it? It's a cute girl. What are you doing eating me? It's not very nice. It's not very nice. I'm glad it was my left hand. My left hand doesn't have the same sense of... I did a little nerve damage there years ago. All right. Pieces says, good day all. See you in the AM. Pieces, where are you in the world that this is not the AM? I'm guessing you're in Australia, maybe? Bocce ball sounds fun. Bocce ball is fantastic. It's just like playing horseshoes, except the stick that you throw the horseshoes at, it moves every time. Right? That's really pretty much the only difference. Very, very similar game. All right, people, I'm Captain Tommy Scoble. That thing over there, that was a cat that should have been in a basket. If you find yourself having a very frustrating day, sit down and figure out exactly what is frustrating you. Figure out why it is frustrating you and what you can do about it. And if you need for the purpose of your serenity, to extricate yourself from the situation until you get your under control, then do that. There's no harm to stepping away from a debate, an argument, a situation, anything. There's no harm in that. Right? What you want is to maintain the closest level to serenity that you can at all times. If you stay serene, chances are you're not using. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This was the Life Bill. Make it a hell of a day, people. And I'm sure I will see you again before the day is out. I'm sure of it. Go out there and make it a great day.